It's Wednesday, February 10th, 2021, and today we'll be talking about the Canadian Proptech ecosystem map. Calgary-based Symend raises $43 million. Shopify's deal with Facebook and Instagram. Plus, if we have some time, we're going to talk about why we don't talk about small raises. We'll also be reacting to your questions and your comments, so show us some emoji love and drop a comment and we'll shout it out live. All right, you ready to get started, Alex? Come on up.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
And quick, for people who actually are here in CS right now, there's a lesson learned. Don't let me edit images. I can't get the day and the day's correct.
I had to let people know it really is a Wednesday. It's not Thursday. Okay, Alex, first up, the Proptech Collective just released a Proptech in Canada report. I got to ask, who's the Proptech Collective and why should we care about this report?
You know, I could describe who they are and why we should care about this report, but I'm going to call up Julia, who actually worked on it and can actually provide a proper context.
Awesome. Welcome, Julia.
Hi everyone, and thanks for having me here. I guess just to give you a little bit of background into who we are, Proptech Collective is a Canadian not-for-profit organization, and we're here to basically provide a platform and create a space for folks in real estate and technology to come together and learn how to collaborate better.
So can I ask a question? Why is this needed? Like, why does this need to exist?
Yeah, so it's a great question. It took us a couple of months to kind of go through this. So it stemmed out as a project of curiosity, but ends up that there's not a lot of benchmarks in PropTech in Canada. So this is the first of its kind, really taking a look at the landscape of who's out there, who are the investors, what are the support systems, and so just a lot of key trends and case studies from the real estate industry as well. So this is the first information layer that's necessary for everyone else to start building upon.
So before we go deep into what the findings are, can you define PropTech? Because when I hear PropTech, I think it can mean anything and everything. So how did you define PropTech? And tell us what PropTech is.
Yeah, it's funny because PropTech is quite a broad term, but it relates to any, technology solutions that go across the real estate, value chain. So for us, PropTech actually includes the construction and the real estate side. And for the real estate, you can boil it down into a couple of different areas. So commercial is basically anything to do with office real estate. You have the residential, so all your property and just, everyone knows how that kind of works. And then also the retail side as well.
So an industry with no changes over the last 12 months.
No, nothing changed.
So what did you find? Like, is PropTech happening in Canada? Is there something? What are the most interesting findings that you did in the research?
Yeah, and this is amazing, and I just want everyone to go download it because there's 55 pages, so I'm going to try to summarize it for everyone. But in general, Canada is basically creating an incredible home for the next generation of PropTech startups. So it's got a great mix and concentration of investors, customers, and support systems in place. So if you think about what Canada is in terms of the customers, actually the top, we have 10 of the top 50 global institutional real estate owners based out of Toronto and also the broader Canada as well. So those are folks like Manulife, Amers, CPP Investments. We also have a lot of the real estate companies globally, like based out of here as well. So those are your Oxfords and Cadillac Fairviews and construction companies as well. So they're all headquartered here and looking for technology solutions so they can adapt to their new reality that we're all kind of put in. But I think the other trend that we saw is that from a funding and support perspective. So 60% of all the startups that we've mapped, so we actually have about 300 PropTech startups in Canada. They're still very much in their early stages, so pre-Series A. So there's a ton of investors that are PropTech specific popping up. So folks like Elate Partners, Green Soil, Groundbreak Ventures, Venture On. So these are folks that are going to give you money to actually build up your PropTech idea.
So it sounds like we have the suppliers, the partners, and the capital, and we have an emerging ecosystem. So if I wanted to break into this space, who are the people? What are the companies I should be looking up after this for a job opportunity?
Yeah. So first of all, download the report and you'll see them there because they're all growing. So we've mapped out the top 25 companies, but I think what actually, if you look at the top funded startups, there's companies like Sonder, Ecobee, Build Direct, Properly. So those are some of the most well-funded ones. But I think what's interesting for folks to know is that 80% of these startups are actually in massive metro areas. So you can think about the GTA, Vancouver, Montreal, Kitchener, Waterloo. Like PropTech is everywhere. And 50% of the startups actually are in the GTA themselves. So it's yeah, take a look at the report and start looking.
And okay, so if we want to take reporting, or people can be lazy like me. So if if you were to guess, and if we sit down and do this conversation in 5 years, what are the categories of startups or sectors that you think will have world-class companies in? Like, I think when I think about it, you got Lane that's in, I think, tenant experience. I can think of lots of logistics companies. Like, is there an area that we have a spike in or concentration that you think we could be world-class in? And then everyone will be saying, hey, this next, like someone on the level of Shopify.
Yeah, and that's a great question. So I do think that construction is one area that's completely underserved right now, and we can definitely have a lot of impact there. So you mentioned the logistics marketplaces. So there's now a lot of folks that are going and trying to support the last mile delivery for construction materials. So these are companies like Go4, Rent-A-Run, and Toolbox. Like they have a really good chance of succeeding. And also, if you think about it, anything that's a digital collaboration tool. So companies like Bridget, based out of Waterloo, for example, also have like a really good hold in the market to be able to actually digitize the entire industry. So we're excited to see what happens in the construction spaces.
Cool. So we talked a bit about the startups, a bit about those spaces. One thing you mentioned is we have lots of good partners or suppliers that these startups can work for. So what should I know about them? Like, who are they? What basically, what's the strategy for them, and why do they care about what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. So from the real estate, I guess, side, it's we actually have a couple of case studies that were interviewed. So we've talked to folks and leaders from Oxford, Avison Young, Mattamy Homes, Dream as well, and they're all looking to kind of adopt a different, I guess, innovation strategy. And what you can learn from having conversations with these folks is that, in the real estate old world, it was like location, location, location. That's all that matters. And now we're kind of moving towards location, location, and data. So basically, today's buildings, if even the smart ones, they really have like a lot of disparate systems that make it really time consuming for these folks to monitor and benchmark their building health, I'd say, and performance across their portfolio. So a lot of companies, including Oxford and Avison Young, they're really looking to develop internal capabilities in advanced analytics, machine learning, data science. So they really are now starting to look at data as being the foundation to their innovation strategy and forming a competitive moat around that.
Cool.
The other trend, yeah,
go on. The other trend.
The other trend is more around ESG. So these are the environment sustainability goals. It's a massive growing focus of the real estate industry, and everyone that we talked to also saw that there's a return on doing good. So they're really looking at using technology to deliver positive impact. So there's demand for tech solutions that help address like housing affordability, environmental sustainability, operational efficiency, and this is both in existing buildings and new construction as well. So super exciting.
Cool, and I think this is super interesting because this is a report. People are like, okay, why are you talking about a report? What's a big deal? In my opinion, go back 10 years. Everyone in the tech ecosystem is like, okay, everyone's made their money in real estate. Those people don't get technology, and Canada seems to be a really property real estate focused country, and we're now just starting to see the emergence of two powerhouse industries together. And so, like, how old is the prop tech industry, and how and again, how important do you think is the future of tech in Canada?
Yeah, that's a good question. So PropTech, the first time I heard the term was about, I'd say, 5 years ago. So it's still quite nascent, which is why you also see all these early stage companies. But to answer your question, I really do think that this is basically the tech sector of the future. So Toronto was known as like financial, district and having a lot of fintech solutions. I'm really excited to see exactly what comes out of the PropTech space for this because big things are going to come.
Okay, before I let you go, Julia, Jason, you've been awfully quiet. Do you have any questions?
No, that was awesome. Thanks so much, Julia, for hanging out with us, and excited to download the report and see how Proptech powers the future of the Canadian innovation ecosystem.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Julia. Take care. All right, Alex.
Just one. If you want to continue the conversation, Julia is an insider. She's been living Proptech, I think, for 5 years. She's quite modest. You have any questions, you want to discuss it, go to our insider Slack and basically start the conversation. I'm sure Julia will participate.
Yes, we continue the conversation in TechTO Insider Slack after today's quick takes. All right, you ready for next up?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Julia is given the dance in the backstage. She is off to TechTO Insiders. Next up, Calgary-based Symend raises $43 million. Alex, who is Symend?
Oh, okay. Well, Symend is, like you said, Calgary-based. They're actually a fairly new company. They're started in 2016, and they're designed to do something which sounds odd. They're trying to give you corporates a more empathetic way of dealing with customers who are behind in payments. So
yeah,
every company has customers that can't pay for whatever reason, and there used to be a message, hey, you can't pay, we're going to send you to lawyers, we're going to send you to collections. But Symend came in solutions saying, we're going to use our analytics, we're going to integrate with your customer engagement platforms, and we're going to help you identify customers ahead of time and suggest ways they can alternative ways to pay. So it's a much better
these
experience.
Are the guys that, like, if you didn't pay, they used to. The old way would be to like come to your house with a baseball bat, or repo your car or something. Is that right?
Yes. And actually, my first summer job was one of those companies doing a tech transformation from Wang to IBM. That's a whole other story.
I'm glad you were using tech, because I wouldn't be too intimidated if you came to my front step with a baseball bat.
Come on, I'm kind of big, yeah.
And so the idea then is they're really applying analytics the same way that you would apply like to your sales funnel, like an email follow-up chain or a drip campaign, applying that, but to the collections process.
Yeah, and I think it's more than that. It's a whole mindset here. It's basically saying that good people have financial trouble, and your best interest is to find a way to identify and help them get through this process so they don't have trouble. So and they're doing that with technology and with behavioral analytics and a bunch of other.
And when did you said they started in 2016? When did they first come on your radar? Like, when's the first time that you heard about Symend?
Good question. 2017. I don't know. I'd have to go check my emails, my notes.
Yeah.
But look, we've been hearing a lot about them over the last little while. Like this money is not actually new round. It's an extension to a $52 million Series B they did in May of last year. So you look at this, that's what?
Wow.
95 million US raised in.
Nice math there, Alex.
Months.
Yeah. That's good. A little simple addition. I'm glad we got that. And so they're raising almost $100 million. How big does that company need to be? What does that tell us about their operations and their growth rates?
Well, there's what they tell us and what we can try to back into. So they tell us they have 100 million customers. And again, that's not their customers, but their customers.
Right.
And their customers are big enterprises. They're telcos, financial services, utilities, media. I think they say they have like 2/3 of big telcos. But again, given current market, let's just do some math. If they raise 100 million, let's say they've done a 20% dilution, that's 500 million valuation. Again, these numbers may be completely wrong, but then multiples right now.
Then they should reach out to us and they should fix it on the record with TechTO, right?
So like my guess is their run rate is probably in the 20 to 30 million off of that. They
did that 50 million raise. You're saying this is an extension. Why did this fundraising happen? Like why finance now?
Well, I think this is actually beneficiary from COVID. So,
how so?
Well, COVID, we've closed down the economy and people can't, and the K recovery, the mass, lots of companies are worried about financial risks for their clients and that they won't be able to pay, right? So they want to have solutions to get ahead and identify these people, find solutions for them, and have a good customer service experience.
Yeah.
And also, there's been so much inbound about deferring. This actually allows them to be proactive. So you got two things. One is, what's the best way of dealing with all these potential deferrals in our telco bills, and how do we make sure we get some money? The second thing is an operations thing. We used to have 10 inbound calls about deferrals. Now we have 1,000. So this is enabling them to be proactive. So My guess is I think they said they've increased their team by 300% and their revenues increased by
Wow.
that. So they're probably growing quickly, need money, and they want to expand right now.
So you see a lot of these deals. You see a lot. You're sort of your job to keep on top of financing and keep on top of scale ups. You must see always great numbers coming out of companies that are raising big rounds. Why is this deal in particular interesting to you? What about this Symend raise really catches your eye?
Well, I think there's a few things. First of all, there's a trend we've seen over the last month where there's the later stage Canadian VC firms, and there's not a lot of them, are now are being much more aggressive to get what they see as emerging Canadian companies that have to be invested in. So this is Inovia being a lead here.
So do you think that maybe 5 years ago or more, this would have been led by a non-Canadian sort of later stage investor, Series A plus lead?
Yeah, most likely. Or, because my guess is this is not a cheap round to get put together when you're being proactive. So and so US could traditionally be a bit more aggressive with the financing. So I think that's interesting. Second thing is this is continued proof that the Canadian tech ecosystem is not one city. Funnily enough, if you go back over the last month, there's been big raises. I don't think there's been one from Toronto, at least not once that's been disclosed.
What are the cities that you've been hearing about over the last little bit?
What we talked about? We talked about Winnipeg. That was bold. We talked about Ottawa with Rewind. Here you're talking about Calgary.
So who's going to step up from Toronto soon, Alex? Where's the next? I guess we had the Wattpad exit. That was pretty good.
Yeah, you had Victoria just before this too, with Certain did like a big race as well. So like it's across the country. So I think that's interesting. With Toronto, I have a few ideas, but I'll keep them quiet. I'll write them down on a piece of paper in an envelope. Send them to your office. Yeah. You can tell me if I was right.
Yeah, I want it sealed with I want it sealed. I want an auditor with it chained to your wrist to walk it over to me, and I'm going to store it. I love that. That's great.
And then you can open it up. It could be like Johnny Carson. I don't know if anyone remembers him. What else is interesting about this deal?
Yeah,
I think look, this is again our tech strength. 25% of staff is behavioral science PhDs.
Cool.
So it's not like we're just building stuff that anyone else can build.
Yeah.
Another female-led company.
Love it.
Which again goes back to our inclusivity and diversity as an ecosystem. There's also there was a 10 to 15% of this round was a secondary, so that's what quick math there was this 40 million. That's another 4 to 6 million. And what's interesting, those are early angels, and those early angels can now go invest in other companies.
Well, I was going to say it's Calgary based, so it's not going. You have enough. It's not like it's going into Toronto real estate.
Well, and I know some of the angels. I think the Plenty of Fish founder, Marcus, was an angel. So that's Vancouver. From Montreal, there's Francois Arbor was also in there. So like it's Canada-wide angels coming together, and that means the money will go all across Canada. That's great, because remember, it can't just go into Muskoka cottages, Alex. It's got to go back into the ecosystem, back into the next entrepreneurs. Yeah. No anything else that you wanted to share about this deal? One last thing. Why they raise the money is to get more international, to introduce more products. And this is, again, I look at the Shopification of our ecosystem, where 10 years ago, people would be happy with a local player, but now we want to be world leaders. Mm-hmm. And you think their customer base is global, and they're going to be going after international telcos, international utilities now? Exactly. Well, the Shopification leads us to our next up. You ready? Yeah. All right. This one will be a real quick hit. You think so? Yeah. Tell me what you tell me what you read here. Yeah, well, I think this is pretty cool. They're going to now put in I believe it's the Shop Pay product on Facebook and Instagram, right? And what's really interesting about this is they're going to be the Shopify sort of checkout process is going to be now in front of I was going to say millions, but I guess it's billions of users on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, and this is the first time they've done a payment solution off of Shopify. So this, and this is, people are like, okay, partnership between Shopify and Facebook. Why are you talking about it? The biggest company in Canada and one of the biggest companies in the world partnering together. Yeah. And I think this is interesting from a strategic rationale, because why is this happening now? Well, social media has been big. It's been bigger in the pandemic. People are shopping more online in the pandemic. Yeah. Social commerce is growing. But I think this is, when I look at this, I wonder what this means for the future of Shopify, because there's Facebook doesn't have exclusivity with Shopify. They're not the only website builder they've used. So is this empowering someone to get more used to buying on social media, and then it hurts Shopify in the long run? I'm not sure. I don't know if you have a thought there.
Yeah, I mean, I think building into the ecosystem is good. I don't think it hurts. I think what's going to be really interesting is, they're moving into the payment space, so it's becoming more and more of a fintech play. And now it's going to be about how do they, right now I think they're storing credit card information and it's making it really easy to check out, right? That's what Shopify is doing. But as they add more payment options, whether it's crypto, whether it's direct bank payments, they start looking a little bit more like what Plaid's consumer play could look like.
So I'm not sure I agree with you, because from what I understand, all the payment options are basically Stripes, and they've taken the Stripes API and use it, which is interesting now. So you've got Shopify playing, sort of the company in the middle, distributing through social media and providing payments from Stripe. And again, there's a lot more they do, but there's an ability for your margins to get squeezed.
Maybe. Look, I think Shopify's focus has almost always been on the merchant, and at the end of the day, that's their core. That's their core piece. It's always been the merchant attracting their own audiences and bringing them in. And one of the biggest ways that merchants attract customers to their Shopify stores is social media. So obviously listening to the merchant and getting those payments integrated directly into the platforms, I think is going to be a big win for the merchants themselves. Look, lots of people I'm sure watching out there, Shopify insiders or Shopify followers. If you've got a different take, definitely let us know in the comments. We want to get schooled on your Shopify as well. Kate actually bringing up an interesting point here. You see this, Alex?
Yeah, well, no one. That's federal regulations in the States. I actually think there's a good, with the Biden election, that might change. And again, I'm very aware of that, because I see lots of good cannabis technology companies that someone wants to raise a syndicate or invest out of a fund into using the Angels platform. And we use SVB for our rails, and Silicon Valley Bank will not let us touch cannabis related companies. So
yeah, it's interesting. I remember at some of the last TechTOs that we were talking about, there were some representatives from Salesforce that were coming in, and they were thinking really innovatively about their healthcare practice and how they could be part of what's happening in Canada. You've got different laws, you got different regulations, you got to have different risk profiles for the different countries you deal in. Nothing new there. I'd love to see some more progressive companies take stances here and allow merchants to sell the things that they want to sell, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna take, actually, I see Kate also said PayPal easy with Shopify. I'll take a great, maybe Shopify buys PayPal. As crazy as it sounds, I think I don't know, maybe PayPal. PayPal's only $300 million. What's that for Shopify these days?
Yeah, I know they made more on the Affirm deal, probably, right? Cool. Anything else you want to talk about on the Shopify deal?
No, I think it's pretty straight, but I wanted to highlight it because I think that's a deal that's interesting and important.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully inspires a lot of Canadian startups and scale-ups to think big. I mean, this is a huge partnership. This is distribution nirvana. This is huge. And so think bigger, like Symend, like Shopify. All right. We do have a little bit of time left, Alex. If we can do a little bit more here, I wanted to talk about why we don't talk about small raises. Why don't we talk about small raises?
Well, I think there's many reasons here. I think, look, so what we're trying to, the idea with quick takes is we go in depth in something that's meaningful for Canada wide. And look, small raises are important as a whole, but individually, it's hard to say which one's meaningful. If I could go say, here's 20 companies raise $1 million.
Right.
And I think if I were to think about it, occasionally we will. So go back to the one that comes to mind is when Integrate AI launched, they raised $5 million. It was a senior Facebook person coming back to Canada. That would have been important, but generally it's just hard to get understanding the meaningfulness of it. Yeah,
but look, Alex, your day job is to do the small raises. That is literally what you do all day long. You know them all. We could talk about them forever and ever, and we do in our Insiders program, where we talk about perfecting the pitch, where we talk about all sorts of early stage scale-ups. But I think a lot of this now is about how do we get people excited and interested in some of the biggest, hottest tech news. And that's just big numbers, right? Yeah. That's just big numbers. One thing I want to make sure we get asked by TechTO insider Pierre, just fine. Is it live or tape? Pierre, this is all live, man. You want to come and you want to hang out in the comment section or dropping emojis and letting us know how we're doing, you let us know. We do this 30 minutes just about once a week. Love to talk about the top headlines that are happening in Canadian tech ecosystem and get you and your ideas involved.
Okay, I'm going to say one more thing about small raises. Look, there are like sometimes we don't know the significance of it. So if there's a small raise you think we should be talking about, and now I'm going to get a bunch of PR agents hitting me, tell us what's meaningful, right? Like I go back to integrate. This was someone, a senior exec from Facebook coming back here, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe someone's using a technology that's spun out of University of British Columbia. So
hey man, we're all about the good stories. Yeah. Let us know why we should do it. And we're easy to get in touch with. And if you want some of our time, you know where we like to hang out? Where do you like to hang out, Alex?
Up north at your cottage.
That'd be nice, but also,
wow. For me, come on.
In the TechTO Insider Slack. And I want to also highlight, Alex, a couple different places that we will be continuing to meet, learn, and grow with the community coming up. Are you ready for those?
Yeah.
All right. So first we've got, look at this, on February 25th, CMO of Rare Beauty. This is a crossover episode. I love those. Marketing and retail coming together. Are you excited for this one, Alex?
I am. You know, I use Rare Beauty all the time.
Well, you know what? I think you could be the new move over, Selena.
Yeah.
We've got Alex Norman here. I wanted to show you another one. This one's actually coming up next week.
Okay.
Look at this, founders and funding. What's exciting about this, Alex?
Well, we talked about Stephanie and her raise, I think, last quick take. So, you know, people wanted to hear more. We're arranging to hear more. We're going to go to that story. Now, do you have the one for the most exciting one we've just announced? Probably not.
Which one's that?
This guy from Intuit.
Oh man, I'm super excited for the Intuit Prosperity Accelerator Demo Day. That's happening on March 2nd. I don't think I have.
Fireside with Mr. Cook, basically
it's
the founder
pretty cool.
of Intuit.
It's going to be pretty amazing. That's on March 2nd. So there'll be a couple more quick takes before then, right?
I don't know. What day is it? I can't get the day. It's Thursday the 10th, apparently.
Fantastic. All right, folks. I think that is all we have for today. What a week it's been in Canadian tech. If you haven't already, wherever you're watching us live, Pierre, like and subscribe. That could be LinkedIn. That could be Twitter. That could be Facebook. We will see you at those interactive live streams coming up. Again, February 19th. That's Founders and Funding. Super pumped for that one. We're talking about that Teal book raise again with Stand Up Ventures. That marketing deep dive, that beauty in 2021. A crossover episode on retail and marketing. And then finally, March 2nd, pencil it in. Intuit Prosperity Accelerator Demo Day. And of course, Alex, if they want to hang out with me and you and the whole community of tech founders, entrepreneurs, innovators, and funders in Canada, you've got to check out where, Alex?
Sorry, I missed you there.
Oh my God. TechTO.org, the insider membership program. That's where we're going to be answering questions with Julia around Proptech right now. We will see you there.
We're in the business of delivering impossible things. We're in the business of delivering things that nobody's ever seen before.
If you build that culture, you'll come up with really cool and innovative stuff, and literally could be in the next multi-billion-dollar idea. So this conversation is largely going to be about scaling yourself and scaling your leadership team.
I want to talk about one of the biggest struggles that I think a lot of startups face early on, which is building initial traction.